Imagine a vehicle the size of 3 blue whales, but it could actually avoid any form of radar detection. An aircraft that looks just like a UFO, amphibious ground vehicles balancing on a screw, or trains and sleds propelled by jet engine. You would think all these just sound like science fiction, right? Well, you are wrong. They are in fact real machines built by the Soviets during the Cold War. And with their unconventional designs and outlandish features, these machines really attempted to push the boundaries of transportation, with each one more bizarre than the last. And no vehicle was more unique looking than this MD-160 Lun-class Ekranoplan, which was discovered beached by the shores of the Caspian Sea just over 3 years ago. This boat-aircraft hybrid was developed during the Cold War, and it really was a feat of Soviet engineering which terrified the West. The Ekranoplan weighed in at an impressive 286,000 kilograms, had a wingspan of 123 feet and a length of 310 feet, so it was nearly close to the size of 3 blue whales, the largest animal ever known to have lived. In addition, this beast could reach a top speed of 340 miles per hour. But what is an Ekranoplan? And what makes them so unique that even decades on, people are still talking about them? Ekranoplans are a boat-plane hybrid that fly just above the surface of the water. They take advantage of a phenomenon called ground effect, which occurs when a vehicle flies at very low altitude, creating a cushion of air between its wings and the surface. This cushion allows the vehicle to achieve higher speeds with greater efficiency than traditional aircraft or ships. Ekranoplans were primarily developed by the Soviet Union during the Cold War for military purposes, and they are capable of moving at high speeds over water while staying low enough to evade radar detection, making them useful for stealth missions. This Lun-class Ekranoplan in particular was based on the experimental KM Ekranoplan, which was thought to be the largest aircraft in the world when it was built in 1966. Stories of this bold creation, later dubbed the Caspian Sea Monster, spread through Western intelligence circles, with many dismissing it as mere propaganda or an overblown rumour. It first served with the Soviet Navy, and later, after the Soviet Union's collapse in 1991, with the Russian Navy. However, the Lun had some major limitations. To take advantage of ground effect, it had to stay super close to the water, only about 5 to 10 feet, or 1.5 to 3 meters, above the surface. So this meant that it couldn't handle rough seas. It also couldn't fly any higher, meaning it was stuck to calm waters, which severely limited where it could be deployed. This Ekranoplan, the Lun class, was the only Ekranoplan ever fully completed of this massive scale. It joined the Soviet Navy's Caspian flotilla in 1987, and then it was retired in the late 1990s. It then was stored in a naval base deep inside Russia until July 31st, 2020. This is when it was towed out to sea, destined for public display in Durban, Dagestan. The towering operation involved rubber pontoons, 3 tugboats and 2 escort vessels, covering roughly 100 kilometers or 62 miles. However, the Ekranoplan got stuck just offshore on a sandy beach, falling short of its intended destination, and that is where it remains, beached until this day, and it is still known by the name the Caspian Sea Monster. And only extreme tourists dare to visit its shores. And although this Ekranoplan might be retired, it appears the concept is having a bit of a revival. Developers in Russia, China, and the United States are working on new, modern iterations of ground effect vehicles for passengers and cargo transportation. One example being the Airfish 8, a modern Ekranoplan designed by Singapore-based company Widgetworks for efficient short-range water-based travel. Utilising ground effect technology, the Airfish 8 can carry up to 8 passengers and travel at speeds much higher than traditional boats. Also, the US are developing their own type of Ekranoplan, such as the Regent Sea Glider. This combines ground effect flight with hydrofoil technology, creating a high-speed vehicle designed to operate along coastal routes. intended to link major coastal cities. So even though the Lund-class Ekranoplan now lies retired by the Caspian Sea, its legacy is far from over. This colossal creation remains a true masterpiece of Soviet engineering, with its influence still inspiring vehicles well into the 21st century. Now, another Soviet creation, which looked like something out of a sci-fi movie, is of course the project EKIP, an aircraft that looked exactly like a UFO. The EKIP, which means Ecology and Progress, was created by engineer Lev Nikolaevich Shulkin in 1979. Just like the Ekranoplan, this was an all-terrain aircraft which could take off from land and water. The environmentally friendly and very much forward-thinking aspect of the EKIP was the fact that it had the capabilities to not only run on jet fuel, but also hydrogen and natural gas. The development of this unique-looking aircraft was totally shrouded in mystery during the 1980s, and it suffered a series of technical failings, as it almost famously crashed into the snow while flying. The craft's breakthrough only really happened after the collapse of the Soviet Union. By 1993, up to 600 people worked on this project, and it was even shown at air shows in Moscow and Paris. But the success of the project was short-lived. Despite there being multiple foreign investors interested, only one materialized, US Senator Kurt Weldon, who helped secure an agreement with the US Naval Air Systems Command, NAVAIR, to produce a 230-kilogram EKIP prototype with testing planned for 2007. However, by 2005, NAVAIR pulled out for unknown reasons, and the project finally crumbled, and this futuristic creature was left to rust, leaving behind the legacy that UFOs do exist, and they were created in the Soviet Union. Another unique-looking Soviet-era vehicle which was cloaked in secrecy is the ZIL-2906, a screw-propelled amphibious vehicle built from 1975 to 1979. Its claim to fame? The ability to navigate the harshest terrains, from snow to swamps. And the aim of this unique-looking vehicle? To retrieve Russian cosmonauts from harsh terrains like Siberia. Weighing in at 2,000 kilograms, which is about the same as a white rhinoceros, the ZIL-2906 could hit speeds of 45 kilometers an hour on snow and 20 kilometers an hour in swamps. Only a handful of people knew of this vehicle's existence, and today, fewer than 5 examples remain. But there have been modern iterations, such as the Residue Solutions Mudmaster, which is making mine tailings dams safer in Australia. So although the Iron Curtain has fallen, the legacy of screw-propelled vehicles still lives on today. Another vehicle that was built to withstand the tough terrains of Siberia was the Sever-2 aerosled. A Yak-12 aeroplane engine was mounted onto a Gaz M20 sedan, and then Teflon-coated skis were added to create this unique-looking car and snowmobile hybrid. The task of this vehicle was solely to deliver the post to snowy, isolated regions of Siberia, and it made light of frozen rivers gliding over them. But with limited space for delivering parcels, it was quickly replaced with the reliable and spacious Ka-30, which remained in service until the 1990s. Now, even 70 years on, the Sever-2 remains a fascinating example of a creative solution designed to navigate Siberia's harsh, snow-covered landscape. Now, bullet trains today are nothing new. The Shinkansen trains in Japan can reach speeds of up to 320 kilometers per hour on some lines, and China's Shanghai Maglev can reach speeds of 431 kilometers per hour. But at the peak of the Cold War, speeds like this were really inconceivable. In the 1960s, during the height of the Cold War, the Soviet Union was exploring its own high-speed rail innovations with the development of the Speedy Wagon Laboratory, a concept aimed at competing with similar projects in the West. At the same time, across the Atlantic, the United States was conducting its own high-speed rail tests, such as the M497 Black Beetle project by New York Central Railway, which reached speeds of 296 kilometers per hour in 1966. With Russia's Speedy Wagon Laboratory, multiple AI-25 jet engines, originally designed for the advanced Yak-40 aircraft, were mounted on the roof of the train car, This super-fast train, unveiled in October 1970, reached speeds of 200 kilometers per hour. But despite its remarkable performance, the Speedy Wagon laboratory never entered mass production and was ultimately abandoned because it was riddled with issues such as stability concerns, which isn't too surprising. This beast was left rusting in St. Petersburg until 2008, when Tver Works, a railroad company, decided to pop the Speedy Wagon on a plinth at their headquarters. That is where it remains even today, an iconic relic of the past. Another former Soviet masterpiece is the Bartini Beriev VVA-14. VVA-14 is an acronym for Vertical Takeoff Amphibious Aircraft, and 14 was the number of engines that were on this beast, designed 50 years ago by visionary engineer Robert Bartini. This aircraft was aimed to be the most versatile flying machine ever built, capable of vertical takeoff, hovering, and efficient cruising using ground effect, similar to the Ekranoplans, which were being developed during that time. The first Bartini Beriev VVA-14 prototype was completed in 1972, in response to the perceived need by the Russians to neutralize United States Navy Polaris missile submarines. The VVA-14 itself was massive. It had a length of 25.97 meters, and its wingspan alone was 30 meters. That's the same as a 10-story building. It was also super fast, and allegedly could reach a maximum speed of 760 kilometers per hour, and a cruise speed of 640 kilometers per hour, with a range of 2,450 kilometers. This means that this craft could, in theory, reach the US from Russia in around 5 to 6.5 hours, something which terrified the Americans. The first prototype flew in 1972, primarily for testing horizontal flight, completing 107 flights by 1975. However, rather like the Ekranoplans and the other Soviet vehicles which were being developed at the time, the VVA-14 was full of problems. The lengthy development process meant that by the time the first prototype flew, technological advancements in other military aircraft had already progressed, and the VVA fell behind. After Bartini's death, attempts to revive the VVA-14 as an Ekranoplan also failed, and the prototype was moved to a museum, where it remains today damaged and incomplete, missing critical components with alleged restoration costs of $1.2 million US. The Caspian Sea Monster, Project EKIP, the ZIL-2906, the Sever-2 aerosled, the Speedy Wagon Laboratory, and the Bartini Beriev VVA-14, once wild visions of Soviet innovation, now stand as relics of the past. These machines had the potential to change everything, but in the end, they never quite made it. Today, they sit frozen in time, reminders of Soviet ingenuity and ambition behind weird and wonderful designs that, despite their promise, never truly materialized.